Hey guys, Carl from Moose Plays. Today I'm taking a look at Backstories, the Emerald Wedding Anniversary from designers Jules, Messaud, and Anthony Perone, and publishers Boîte and Lucky Duck Games. This is a card-based sort of point-and-click adventure style game in which you're playing through this deck of cards, discovering items, using those items to interact with different things, working your way through a sort of mystery story as you're playing through the cards with different branching pathways and so on based on the decisions that you're making along the way. Disclaimer, I was given a review copy of this game for this video, but as always, I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on the game. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how this one plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a game of Backstories, the Emerald Wedding Anniversary, begin by taking out the box, taking off the lid, and placing the box on the table. That's it. You're all set up to play. So Backstories is a solo-based kind of choose-your-own-adventure point-and-click style action adventure game. So this is story-based, so this will be spoiler-laden. I'm not going to say spoiler-heavy because I think what I'm going to do is play through the first sort of chapter or the first sort of objective of the game, and then I will quit there so I don't show too much. If at any point you feel like I'm already showing too much, feel free to use the timestamps down below to jump ahead to my final thoughts on the game. But with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the adventure. So we can begin by simply drawing cards from this box from the front. And we see here this card that says, sitting peacefully outside a coffee shop, you enjoy the first rays of sunshine of the day while sipping on your favorite gingerbread tea. That's when a passerby discreetly drops a pair of glasses on your table and continues walking as if nothing happened. You grab them before putting them on. Turn this card over. Hello, Agent Nix. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to recover a stolen hard drive containing nuclear warhead activation codes. The device is in the possession of an infamous member of a paramilitary mafia organization, General Darkosa. Tomorrow evening, he celebrates his 40th wedding anniversary with his wife, Rose. You will use this opportunity to infiltrate his home under the guise of a Jules smuggler, bringing him the emerald ring he ordered for the occasion. We have infiltrated Selma among the staff, a promising rookie agent. Her help will be crucial to the success of this mission. Be careful. We want to keep disruption to a minimum, and I remind you that you do not have a license to kill. As always, if you are captured or killed, we will deny any knowledge of your actions. Good luck. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. So now you see it says draw card number 2 and discard this card. So I'm just going to set the discards off here to the side. And then drawing card number 2, we see this here. It says, a few days later, you enter the lavish home of the General Darkosa under the identity of Armando Falcone, a jewel trafficker. They've never met in person, so he won't recognize you. Draw 8. This is your character. Place it in the playing area. So setting that aside for a minute, drawing card number 8. Now, you should see, and you can't from the angle you're looking at, which is great because I can't spoil anything on camera that I don't want to. Every card has a number printed in the top left corner, so I am using that number here as I'm looking through the cards to find what I'm looking for. And we've got here, this is Agent Nix. Everyone thinks you are Armando Falcone. Up here you see it says slide the status cards you obtain under this card. Anytime I get some kind of status, I will be stacking them below that card. So I'm just going to place that out onto the table. And I will move things around as needed. Continuing with this card, it says there is heightened security. Your host insisted that no one be armed, other than the members of staff. You have only been able to keep your x-ray glasses, which allow you to scan people. So I'm going to draw 147 and put it above my character, and then draw 5 as the action associated with those glasses. So starting with 147. You will see one of the first things that I really love about this game, and that's going to be really hard to see because it is a clear card, but there are some glasses on there. So taking my agent and placing that on top of my agent, I now have some x-ray glasses on my agent. And then card number 5 is the action card for those glasses, and you'll see here It says scan discreetly with glasses. This game is really interesting in that some of these cards, my action cards, have a cutout. And at later points in the game, what's going to happen is I'll slide this under a card and then flip over the card, showing what I'm supposed to be seeing based on the item that I'm using. So for right now, I'm just going to set that here with my agent. Continuing this card. Says, after being subjected to a meticulous search, you hand the ring over to the general who returns to his guests. The reception room is under strict surveillance. You don't want to attract too much attention from now on. So I need to draw 3 and 4 to form a panorama, and then 6 and 7 for my other actions, and then number 9, which is my objective. So let's go ahead and do all of that. Let me slide these down actually so I have room for the panorama. So we're drawing 3 and 4. So here you see 3 says the general welcomes his guests with his wife by his side, and 4, Selma the undercover agent is disguised as a server. You can see up here it sort of notes the location in the panorama for those cards. So those 2 cards will go together to sort of start my panorama, but it looks like there will be 3 more cards extending out potentially. Then drawing 6 and 7, here are 2 more actions you'll see with 2 more unique cutouts that will interact with those cards in different ways. I've got a discuss action. Whoops, sliding that over. And I've got a use, take, steal, search action. And then finally, we need card number 9, which is our first objective, which says Act 1, the reception. My objective is to assess the situation with the undercover agent. All right, so setting that there. This card then gets turned over. And this is our scenario. The Emerald Wedding Anniversary, a scenario written by Nicolas Fuchs and Benoit Bagnier, illustrated by Gong Studios. Always keep this card at the front of the pack to hide the first card. If I'm stuck, I'm experiencing a glitch, I can go to the website. But basically, this is just a card now that's going to go sliding into there. So I don't accidentally see what the front card is. And you can see it blocks everything nicely, but I can still kind of look at the numbers of the cards in those corners to find the cards that I need. So with that, we're all ready to get into gameplay. And again, I need to interact with these cards in some way to assess the situation with the undercover agent. And I think the best thing for me to do first is to simply discuss what's going on with the agent. So I'm going to take my discuss action, place that behind this card, and then I'll turn it over like this. And it says here, Selma nods to you. You approach her to talk. Draw 10. So taking card number 10, we see here. Good evening, Agent Nix. Call me Albert, please, you respond with a smile. We don't have time for small talk, Agent Nix. Tonight is our only chance to get access to the General's office and recover the hard drive. We'll need to isolate Darkosa first. I have a powerful vomiting agent with me that he'll need to pour into his drink. Sorry, that we'll need to pour into his drink. He'll go straight to his bathroom and we'll make our move. Turn this card over. She stares at you and adds hesitantly, we must act with complete discretion. Don't screw things up like you did in Berlin. You know about Berlin? Unfortunately, yes, a fiasco, and your fault, it seems. You lower your gaze. You have no intention of reliving what happened in Berlin. Your honor as an agent depends on it. She's holding the vomiting agent in her hand. She says, would you like me to pour it, or will you take care of it, Agent Nix? So we're going to choose one of the 2 actions, either pour it myself or ask her to take care of it. Since she is disguised as sort of waitstaff, I think it's better if she does. So I'm going to draw 11 and discard this card. So drawing 11, it says here, you decided it would be better if Selma took care of it. It'll be more discreet if it's done by a server. I'll let you do it, Selma. Okay, it's probably for the best considering your history. You sense that she's relatively confident in her abilities, but probably has a plan B she hasn't mentioned. Damn Berlin, my whole reputation ruined. When I pour the vomiting agent in his drink, Darkosa will retreat to the bathroom, follow him, and neutralize him. I prepared the equipment and hid it in there. It mainly consists of a machine that creates masks so that you can steal Darkosa's identity, which will be necessary to gain access to that floor. Turn this card over. To pour the vomiting agent, I will still need your help. The butler is keeping a close eye on the party, and Hector, the couple's bodyguard, never lets them out of his sight. Shall I try and take care of him? I would like you to do that, yes, but the mission comes first. If you fail, well, if it's too difficult to manage, I'll go, despite the risks. Her tone leaves no doubt of her determination to complete this mission, whatever it takes. I've also prepared a file on everyone present this evening to help you. It says draw 30. So let's do that first. Drawing card 30 is this sort of dossier. General Darkosa is in possession of the hard drive with the warhead codes and the intention to sell it. Hector Valdez is the general and his wife's bodyguard. The butler, wherever the general goes, he goes. He makes sure everything runs smoothly. It says you've studied the files of all those present, or at least those you were able to find information. Turn over the card. So here it says Amelia Vanders, the general's hitman, particularly violent. Rose Darkosa, this is Darkosa's wife, of French origin. So we're going to set that sort of over here as information that I have, but going back to this card. Just then, a guest approaches to take a cocktail. Selma returns to her role of server. Enjoy the party, Mr. Falcone. The bar is just past the staircase. So we're going to draw 13, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Discard the objective, draw 20 as a new objective, and discard this card. I'm going to do this, and that's actually where I'm going to stop so I don't spoil any more of sort of the decisions that get made in this game. But we'll see. I may go just a little bit further. 13. Okay, this is good. So now you'll see another one where there are small cutouts of the side here. Sending Selma to pour the vomiting agent is now a new action I have. And then we're drawing 15, 16, 17, 18. 15, 16, 17, and 18, which are now more pieces of this panorama. You'll see now that Selma is being approached by somebody. So this now discards card 4 and replaces that card. Then 16 here is the butler with security. The butler gives his final instructions to the guard for the party. And here is the bar where the drinks are going to come from. And then over here is that hitman guy that we saw before, Emilia Vanders, the general's hitman, talking to a crowd of people. So we're going to set that there like that. We do get our action back. And then this card gets discarded. But first we're going to discard our objective and draw 20 as our new objective. Which is now here. Act 1, the reception. Selma is in position. So our objective is to send Selma to pour the vomiting agent in Darkosa's glass. And then optional, try to reduce the security around Darkosa. Like that. You may have seen that dance I was just checking to see. It does say here discard 9, but we've already discarded 9 based on this that says discard your objective card. That's just a reminder that you should have gotten rid of your previous objective. So I need to send her to pour the vomiting agent using this card. But first I kind of need to reduce security, which might mean this guy here, which might mean the guard over here, which potentially means the hitman over there. But I think that's where I'm going to end this video because I don't want to spoil too much because the sort of entirety of the game is the decisions and the way that the story plays out. So I'm going to pause there. Looking at the components right now, I'll talk more about this into gameplay because these components really do play into the sort of mechanisms of the game. But physically, I love these cutouts. I really love these clear plastic overlays that actually physically change your agent in some sort of way. Really, really clever use of componentry. These panoramas look great. Well, the artwork in general in this game looks great. The text on some of the cards is a little bit small, which might potentially be a problem, but I don't really see it as such. Otherwise, this box is a very, very great way. You see, I didn't have to teach you anything. I just took this out and I started playing the game. There is a rule sort of instruction that does walk you through how the game plays, but again, most of it is playing right through the cards on the table. So Big thumbs up for the componentry from me. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the experience itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that small little bit of a playthrough introduction to this game. So as I said up top, this is sort of a reimagining, reinterpretation of an old school computer point and click adventure done through a deck of cards, or a big stack of chunky cards, where you are playing through the cards, using the cards as a variety of different things. The cards represent the panorama of sort of the location that you are at, with the different things inside the location you can interact with. The cards represent yourself and any other characters you run into along the way, but the cards also represent actions that you can take, just like you might see in a point and click adventure: look, take, push, move, hit, etc. But also the cards represent different items you can use to interact with the scenes in different ways. Before I get into my thoughts on this game, I have to say I'm really excited to see these styles of games being turned into board games recently. I grew up as a huge fan of the Sierra point and click adventure games, or at that time, type and click adventure games, but these are things like Space Quest and King's Quest and Quest for Glory, and then moving forward, even a bigger fan of these sort of LucasArts games like Day of the Tentacle, or Sam & Max Hit the Road, or Grim Fandango. The list goes on and on. I played all of them. I loved all of them, and I'm really excited to see these things coming to board games, sort of the world of board games. I've been playing through a lot of sort of escape room in a box games like Unlock and Exit, and this is kind of that kind of idea, except then again tying into these old point and click adventures. If you played Cantaloupe, that's another series recently that's kind of done the same thing, except that's a huge big book full of different locations and things to go, whereas this is a very small, compact card game. So I was very curious to see how they could pull it off with cards. So as I mentioned, the cards are representing a variety of different things, not only the world that you're interacting with, but the things that you're actually using to interact with the world around you. And from my opinion, this really does a really cool sort of way of interacting with things, in that each card on the back of the card means each of those location cards or person that you're interacting with cards has a bunch of stuff hidden on the back of the card that you can't see, obviously, because these cards are down on the table with only one side showing up. And you are then taking these sort of interaction, action verb cards, as well as items that you're collecting along the way, sliding them underneath that card and flipping them over, because each of these different actions has a different shaped and different sort of location cutout of the card, as well as the items as well. They've got different kinds of cutouts, either a big window cutout or sometimes just a little notch on the side of the card, so that when you flip it over, that notch or that window will display some kind of text, some kind of picture based on what you're looking at, or sometimes just a number that refers to another card that needs to be pulled from the deck. And the way that the system works is really, really clever, because what it means is that each of these different location cards can have a variety of different things that can be done at that location based on the cards that you're using to interact. So it really does feel like I have many different options even on a single card. And you'll also see that as you interact with cards, cards get replaced with new cards, sort of updating the information, updating the picture on the front of the card, and so on, based on the decisions, based on the actions that you've taken at that location. And I really do enjoy the way that that works, because as I said, this really does feel quite a bit like a point and click adventure, and it really does bring back the nostalgia of playing one of those kinds of games, even to the point where you can do things that don't make sense, putting an action like hit the computer and flipping it over and it's saying, ouch, you hurt your hand, or something silly like that. It does push you to try wacky things as well, while the overall sort of theming or styling of this isn't quite as wacky as some of those old adventure games got. This is quite a bit more serious. They do still throw in a little bit of those Easter eggy, jokey kind of things when you try to do something stupid at a location, and it made me very happy to see those things. So on top of that, this is a sort of narrative adventure of you as this sort of secret agent guy trying to get in to steal this thumb drive from a bad guy. But the way that you can go about it really does have quite a few different branching paths and quite a few different decisions you can make that sort of lead you down different pathways in your discovery of this thumb drive, in your sort of attempted retrieval of this thumb drive, and ultimately in the sort of end game results of all of the things that you're doing. So as you're playing through, I mentioned already that as you're interacting with these cards, sometimes the cards are being swapped in with other cards, but there is one more type of card that you didn't get to see, and I wish I had shown just a little bit further in my playthrough, because there is another kind of card that has a sort of purple tag at the bottom of the card. And these purple tags are sort of keywords. So when you do certain things throughout the story, you get a card that slots under your player character. I believe I showed you in the playthrough, there was a red one. When something bad happened, it gave me a sort of red tag at the top of my character that marks that sort of I was being watched, or I did something badly, or something negative was happening. Well, these purple things are sort of a record, a list of keywords of the things that you've done throughout the story. So these slide from the bottom of your player character card, and they give you different keywords based on the things that you've done so far in the story. And then at certain points throughout the story, it says that if you have this tag, do this instead of this. So there is absolutely a memory. Even just a simple card game like this absolutely has a memory of the things that you're doing through gameplay, and it remembers them and sort of adjusts accordingly. So if you did something to this guy earlier in the game, he's going to remember it. Or if this thing got removed at some point, it's not going to be there later on in the game. And it's really, really clever how much this system feels alive based on this sort of small deck of cards that comes in this box. And it really, really plays super smoothly. I mentioned before Cantaloupe, another sort of game that attempts to do this point-and-click adventure, and that one is much more text-heavy. That one is much more, try this, read this, try this, read this, try this, read this, and it takes a long time, and it gets real sort of nitty-gritty detail kind of thing. This sort of does the opposite, whereas it is more about the streamlining, smooth gameplay. You really need to know almost nothing going into this game, and you're just kind of pulling cards and reading and making decisions based on what you see and what you learn and what you've got and what actions you can take and what items you have. And it feels really cool to see your decisions actually mean something. And there are also sprinkled through here some kind of puzzly kind of stuff like you might experience in an unlock or an exit or one of those kinds of escape room in a box style puzzle games. Some of those pop up in here as things that you need to do as part of your sort of mission to get the things done that you need to get done. But also, as you're playing through, I should point out, there was that clear overlay of the X-ray glasses I got at the beginning of my playthrough. There are other additional overlays that get added in that change the appearance of things, right? These overlays go on top of cards to make the change look, make things look differently, let's say that. And I appreciated some of the cards in this game are almost meaningless. It's just a visual update of the world that you're seeing in front of you, those panoramas that are out on the table. Sometimes when you do things, likewise with your character, sometimes when things happen to your character, the visual look of your character or of that location changes. And while it doesn't really mean anything story-wise as far as new decisions or new things that you can do in that location, visually it's cool that the world is just responding and physically changing to look like it should after the actions that you've taken. So not just the way that the game plays, but the presentation of this game really, really did wow me quite a bit, and I do really enjoy what's being done here. And not only that, but as you're playing through, I mentioned there are a variety of different pathways that sort of interconnect at different places based on how you did things and where you got things, because there are clearly big story beats that you have to hit as part of the sort of main narrative of this game. But there are lots of small sort of side plots and things that branch off and come back to this main story beats in different ways based on the decisions you've made. I played through this game two completely full playthroughs of this game, and both times I saw very unique and different things by making decisions. Now at the end of my second playthrough, I did kind of play it like a choose your own adventure where I'd make a decision and see what it looked like and come back and try another one and try another one, and I did kind of peek at some of the hidden branches on my way through the end of my second playthrough, just because I wasn't sure I was going to play through an entire third playthrough of this game. Not that that's a negative in any way, but following all of those branches and seeing how things resolved in different ways made me even more excited about what's going on behind the scenes in this game, because the decisions really did matter. It wasn't like everything suddenly got pulled together at the end regardless of what you did. There are a variety of endings, and I can't remember exactly how many, but 4, 5, 6, there are quite a few different endings based on different things that have happened to you throughout the game. There's also a sort of section later on in the game that you didn't get to see in my playthrough because I didn't play that far and I didn't want to spoil too much, that plays out like a comic book. And each page is a bunch of like panels of a comic book, and as you're reading through the comic book, it says, how do you react to this? How do you respond to this? What would you like to do when this happens? Do you have this tag? Do you have this item? And based on that, the comic story is changing and going in different directions based on this sort of choose your own adventure style decisions you're making as you're reading those comic panels, but also based on things you've done in the past that make you turn to basically a different page of the comic, continuing the story in different ways based on current decisions and previous decisions made in the game. There's not a whole lot more that I can say. This game is a 1 to 2 hour kind of experience, doubled, because you can definitely play this at least twice all the way through, seeing a bunch of different things, trying a bunch of different things, and realistically I could go back in a third or a fourth time just to see what happens when I tweak things in different orders or when I change things differently than I've changed before. But I don't care that it's that short. I had a blast playing through this twice. I would probably have a blast playing through it 1 or 2 more times, and I probably will dig into it just a little bit more. Also, nothing gets destroyed, which means I can pass this on to somebody else. This, I think, is the second in the series. I never played the one that came before it, and I'm pretty sure there's a third one that's at least available in French. I don't know if it's available in English yet, but the point is this is a series. So if I grab this one and somebody else grabs another, when we're done, we can swap them. We can sort of start this trade network of all of these different games, buying a couple, trading a couple. The point is, it's a whole lot of fun. I'm really glad I got into it. I love the sort of compactness of this box. It's easy to just take off the top and play through a nice quick game of this, having fun with the story, having fun with the decisions, trying my best to figure out the most efficient or most effective way through this story, seeing all of the different endings and different results that can happen based on the decisions that I make along the way. This is truly a point-and-click adventure, and I'm excited to see another series of games trying and accomplishing to do exactly what they set out to in that sort of point-and-click adventure genre or world. Big thumbs up from me on this game. If you are a fan of old-school computer point-and-click adventures, this is one I would absolutely recommend you checking out. And even if you've never really dabbled in that world before, but you like a sort of narrative, choose-your-own-adventure, puzzly kind of game, definitely check out this game and this series more particularly. That's basically all I have to say. I hope that this video was helpful for you. As always, if it was, I do ask that you remember to please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks.